Ready? I'd like to call this meeting to order. A special meeting of the Village Board on Monday, June 26th at 7 p.m. in the Germantown Village Hall Boardroom. This and also can be accessed via WebEx. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with sections 19.83 and 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call shows all village board members present except for trustee Pieper, who has emailed and said that she's going to be a couple minutes late. At this time, I'll ask us all to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. You. President's report is pretty much the same as it was last meeting. 4th of July is coming up. We're looking for volunteers. You can access the volunteer website and pick a slot time or what works best for you. Pick a job duty that works best for you. For those that have enjoyed the 4th of July festivities, remember that it takes a lot of time, a lot of planning, and a lot of volunteers. So if you have an hour or two, or if you have half a day, I'm sure that the 4th of July committee would appreciate your time and your volunteerism to help out in the many different areas that are needed. And for those that aren't able to volunteer but would like to have some place to go on 4th of July, know that the parade starts at 2 p.m. On next Tuesday. And then from there, there'll be festivities at Fireman's Park with several different acts and entertainment on the Gales Outdoor Performing Arts Pavilion, and then lots of food trucks and different festivities for the kids as well. So come and join us and celebrate the 4th with all your residents in Germantown. That's all I have for President's report. We can go to announcements of forthcoming events of public interest, committee and department reports with committee chairs, starting with Trustee Kaminsky.
The Public Works meeting for July has been canceled due to a conflict in this room. The next meeting will be on August 2nd, which is Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. in this room. There were very few agenda items for July, so we did not feel bad about postponing it. There was nothing pressing.
All right, thank you. Trustee Miller.
General Government and Finance will meet on July 17th in this boardroom, Monday, July 17th, 6 p.m.
Thank you. Trustee Hudson.
Public Safety Committee will meet 5:30 p.m. July 10th in this room.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else have anything else for announcements of forthcoming events of public interest, committee or department reports they'd like to add? There is nothing else. Then we can go to citizen input, public appearance. If there's anyone within our audience or is joining us via WebEx that would like to participate in citizen input or public appearance, you're welcome to do so at this time. All I would ask is you come to the podium and state your name and your address for the record, or make your wishes known if you're joining us via WebEx to the moderator so that they can cue you in to make your citizen input or public appearance. So anyone wishing to come forward, please come to the podium and state your name and your address for the record. Now it's on.
Okay, my name is Stephen Wazalowski, and my address is W169 North 10427 Pheasant Run in Old Farm Subdivision. And I just put this together quickly, but as a member of the Utility Advisory Committee, I'm looking for some clarification about how this committee should function and what's my role as a member of this committee. I mean, Dean appointed me to this committee back in January, and and the board voted in confidence to put me on the committee, and I appreciate that. But I guess I got some concerns. I guess as a member of the committee, I feel that I should be able to provide topics on any sewer water issue that can be discussed by this committee. And it seems like I don't believe that's exactly happening recently. Um, we have not had a meeting since Rick Miller was reassigned to another committee. And last week, I sent some information to the newly appointed trustee and asked to have some information put onto the agenda for discussion. And yesterday we had, well, it was a little heated discussion on the phone, and I was told that that information would have to first be reviewed by our village administrator, Steve. And I questioned why he would have to have a review of the information with Steve. I don't believe Steve should dictate what I want to talk to as long as it's the sewer water issue. And, you know, our committee was formed by citizens, and our reason for forming it was to do research, review, advise the Public Works Committee, and to help them make prudent decisions. I'd like to just ask the village attorney if our administrator should have censorship over my ability to bring topics to my committee meeting. I don't think so. Our administrator was hired by the trustees. The administrator serves our community and reports to the trustees. Our trustees work for our citizens, and you guys are appointed through our votes. Let me just see here. And I guess in conclusion, what I'd like, in conclusion, what I'd like to say is that this committee, I was going to say that. Let me just see Public Works Committee. Oh, I was going to say that, yep. In conclusion, I'd like to just say that our municipal code states that this committee is made up of citizens, and that one of the members would be a trustee who sits on the Public Works Committee. And that was with Rick. He was a Public Works Committee member. And I don't know if recently with the change, if maybe it happened by mistake, but the newly assigned trustee is not a member of the Public Works Committee. And according to our municipal code, it should be a Public Works person. To me, that makes sense because then you have a good continuity of information. That member can take stuff right to that committee for good discussion. So I'm just asking if we could look at that and possibly make a change back to a trustee from the Public Works Committee. It may have been an oversight, and there's no offense to the newly appointed trustee. He was given the assignment, and he's going to honor that assignment, but I don't think it follows the code. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input or public appearance?
Melanie Smythe, N140W17938 Cedar Lane. The tax burden on Germantown taxpayers is going up over the next few years because of DPW and various TIDs and things. We've all seen the Ehlers reports. Recently, the village board accepted the Economic Development Commission's platform, and that says to me that now that commission is in the rotation of meetings, which to me means that topics start there, they get worked through, they get brought to the board. If they're accepted, great. If not, they go back and there's more work done. One of the things that's on this commission, Economic Development Commission's agenda is our a TID policy, not a handbook. It was originally supposed to be the policy. A handbook could be an outcome of the policy, but there should be some policy within this village regarding development. We've seen that the latest efforts have not exactly been stellar for the residents in the areas where development has occurred. And so I welcome what the Economic Development Committee comes up with. And in regard to that, I think there should be no TIDs that are added onto the current family of TIDs, if you want to call it that, until that has been sorted out, until there is a policy in place. Also, I think that we've been asking for a number of us since last year, since the whole utility extension thing came up, for a number of documents and financial information such as the 5-year capital plans for utilities, the 2022 annual report, and now more recently, a 5-year funding for adding personnel to fire and police. We know that a referendum may be part of that. We're going to have to figure out how much to ask for in the referendum. So we need to see these dollars. We also need to see what's happening with all this money that we may or may not have in order to complete the COW meetings, which are coming up. And we'd like to see the transparency to Tyler Munis as well. So that's my request. No more TIDs until that policy gets put into place. A couple of observations, and this is from the last meeting. The board seems to be harder on individual residents than it is with companies or businesses to do with development matters. And if you go back and look at the tape for the Evans property, I think that the outcome of that meeting was wrong and the vote was wrong. Did any of you get a chance to drive along that road or to take a look at the Google Maps in where you can walk along the road and see what it looks like? That road is never going to become a Donjas Bay or a Pilgrim Road. So that vote was, I think, absolutely wrong, and I don't think that you had all of the information. I think that you should reconsider that vote, and I think that you should take a look at what that road actually looks like in person. It's nowhere near anything to do with what was presented by the planning director. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Does anyone else wish to come forward at this time for citizen input or public appearance?
Scott Heffley, W159, N10514 Old Farm Road. The Old Farm subdivision, obviously, Germantown, of course. So in following up with Melanie said, I don't know if she was going to comment on that, but when I was at the meeting, the gentleman was here talking about his property. So not knowing where it was exactly, I did go drive it. And not only drove it, counted the number of driveways that empty onto the road in question, which is Elm Road, and mostly on the south, which there was no Google pictures or anything presented. So between gravel type driveways and asphalt, there are 10 driveways from that gentleman's corner of his property to the east where it meets up with Country Air. 10, okay? Now, it looks like there's a road on the map. It is a bike lane, something like that. It's got a big blockade there with a reflective sign saying, don't turn here. Those people do not want a push-through road, a pass-through road there, okay? If Mequon does get worked on, we can put them on 145 with the new roundabout, Donjas Bay, that whole area. We can move them up to Freistadt, which is a third of a mile north. I drove that entire area at length, and here's what I found out. It's heavily forested. You would have to take out hundreds of trees to put sight lines in to justify meeting all the codes probably for the road builders. It is absolutely the worst place for a road I could think of in the village to try to, it doesn't alleviate anything. It's very, there's not a room for a lot of cars to pass on that road. You go left and it's a 90-degree right going up to Harvest and everything's dead ended. Those people don't want their hiking trail taken away, their bike trail. So I think it's very, not forward looking to say, well, we're not going to let you develop there when there's already 10 driveways that empty onto Elm Lane. And this gentleman wants to move it 131 feet from the end, which is 43 yards. It's not going to cause a problem. Of course, he's not here. He doesn't know I'm speaking on his behalf, but I think sometimes we overthink things. That's what I think. So that's the only comment I had, but I do have an announcement, and this comes from the Leadership Germantown Board, which I've been on for 15 years. I've been president a couple times, but at our last meeting, one of our board members is offering anyone on the village board trustee that wants to go through our program, and I know Jan Miller's been through the program, Aaron just went through the program. Program has been in place for 23 years. It just recently moved under the chamber. We have a board member willing to pay for any of you that haven't gone through leadership to go through it. That's a $1,000 scholarship. You don't have to pay anything. You would have to get off the second Tuesday through work or otherwise, or if you work for yourself and attend, you'll do a community service project. You'll learn a lot about Germantown, even if you lived here as long as me. And it's a great time. And this board member is going to pay for it. So if any of you are interested, let me know and I'll hook you up. Thank you.
I was a graduate of Leadership Germantown as well. That was back, I don't know if you were on the board then, but I was also in Leadership Germantown when I first became a trustee. It's a good program and you learn a lot about Germantown as was said. And what you also learn is a lot about yourself and what type of leader you are, what type of person you are. So it's a very good program. Anyone else for citizen input or public appearance? If there's no one else, then we can go to the next item, which is consent agenda.
Motion to approve Rule 7 consent.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve consent agenda items A through D. Is there any discussion on the motion to approve? No discussion. We'll do roll call. Vote, please.
Oh, it's already on. I'm sorry. Okay, trustee Miller, or trustee Rick Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky. Trustee Pieper. Trustee Hudson. Trustee Jan Miller. Trustee David Baum.
Aye.
Trustee Nyrider.
Aye.
Trustee Myers. President Walter.
That then takes us to new business, starting with new business item A, cancellation of July 3rd, 2023 Village Board meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the cancellation of the July 3rd meeting.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve the cancellation of the July 3rd Village Board meeting? Trustee Jan Miller.
I'm just asking, I thought I read in the Muni code that if you cancel the meeting, it has to be the next day, which is a holiday, which can't happen. So then does it go to the following week? The following, Brian?
That would assume that there was a desire to hold the meeting at that time. Staff is, I think, of the impression or belief that there isn't sufficient business to justify holding a meeting. Then everything could just be put on till the second meeting. And so the request is just to cancel it outright as opposed to moving it that next work day, for lack of a better term.
And then the next meeting would be July 17th,
Correct.
Monday. Okay, thank you.
Further discussion on a motion to approve the cancellation of the July 3rd Village Board meeting? No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? One opposed? The man who heads up the 4th of July committee. Motion passes. Next item under new business is item B, development agreement with Sterling Pharma Solutions. The village board may go into closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85 subsection 1 subparagraph E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating when competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and then may re-enter into open session to take such action as it deems appropriate.
Closed session for new business B.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve to go into closed session? Trustee Jan Miller.
This is optional, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Is me.
It says may go into closed session.
It always says that.
Oh,
Right. Basically, what the statute requires is that we provide notice that we potentially could use a closed session and to provide the basis for which we would potentially do that. This body always has the option to not go into closed session. With that said, given the nature of the discussions that we'll need to have, if we don't go into closed session, there will be very little we can share in open session. And so it'd be a pretty short discussion.
okay, thank you.
Further discussion on the motion to go into closed session? There's no further discussion. We'll do roll call vote, please.
Okay, trustee Baum. Trustee Kaminsky. Trustee Hudson. Trustee Meyer. Trustee Nyrider. Trustee Rick Miller. Trustee Jan Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Peeper.
Aye.
President Walter.
Aye. Before we go into closed session, just an announcement. We will go back into open session. We will not be televised, but the room will be open. If we do go into open session. The next village board meeting will be July 17th at 7 p.m. Village Hall. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you all for watching, and have a good night.
Point of order, who's supposed to stay?
Myself, the village attorney, and Christian Cheshlock from Economic Development, Washington County.
Turn off your microphones, please.